Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. Is Daniel's theory about to come true? Will Hensley's arrival bring about vengeance? The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates indicate that Daniel Romalotti proposed an intriguing theory in the episode aired on October 7th. He thought the man who attacked Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, on her business trip might want to take revenge. Tessa's update to Sharon about her and Daniel's trip overseas. Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, received an update from Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, on what she and Daniel learned about Mariah's business trip during Tuesday's episode. Sharon was deeply disturbed and horrified by the revelations. Tessa went to the hotel where Mariah had stayed during her absence, inquiring with the staff if they recalled her. She showed them a photo of Mariah, and the bartender shared details about the drinking, flirting, and antics that occurred between her wife and an older man named Will Hensley. They ended up going upstairs to a hotel room, where, as fans know, Mariah tried to kill him. Will and Mariah's level of intimacy is unknown. It's still uncertain whether Mariah was intimate with Will. The silver lining in this situation was that Mariah didn't take Will's life, even though she attempted to suffocate him. Will, however, rushed out of the hotel and quickly paid his bill because he was very shaken, and the hotel staff noticed that he didn't wait until the morning to check out. Tessa was quite firm about her wife's actions, based on the information she had gathered, whereas Sharon was completely shocked by this information and attempted to defend Mariah. Daniel then made a rather ominous prediction, noting that since Will was still alive, he might be looking for some form of retribution against Mariah for that night. Daniel believes Mariah could be in danger, as well as her loved ones. In fact, Daniel is convinced that Mariah may be in danger. Is this just a theory or a hint from the CBS soap about a future plot twist? Mariah has left for therapy out of town, but has she unwittingly put herself in a precarious position by being so far from home? On the other hand, without understanding Will and his motives, or the kind of person he is, could he possibly turn his aggression towards Tessa instead? Might he even set his sights on the young daughter of the ladies, Aria Porter Copeland? The Young and the Restless spoilers indicate that more drama is on the way regarding this storyline, so viewers should keep watching the CBS soap to find out what unfolds next. Tessa's haunting discovery abroad. When Tessa Porter, Mariah's always concerned wife, set out to find out what really happened during her enigmatic business trip, the tension first started to build. In her update to Sharon Newman, the tone was one of fear mixed with disappointment. Tessa's visit to the hotel where Mariah had stayed was more than a fact-finding mission, it was a confrontation with the uncomfortable truth about the person she loves most. When she showed hotel staff a photo of Mariah, their recognition was instantaneous, but the details they offered were devastating. Mariah was depicted by the bartender as acting out of character by drinking heavily, laughing loudly, and flirting with Will Hensley, a much older man. The staff said that the two ended up going upstairs together. While the show has not yet confirmed whether the encounter turned physical, the implication of intimacy hovers ominously over the story. What truly shocked Tessa was learning that things didn't end romantically, they ended violently. Will appeared to have been suffocated by Mariah. The fact that she failed to kill him might seem like a blessing, but the psychological and moral consequences of that night are far from over. Will left the hotel that night in a state of panic, checking out early, clearly traumatized. Sharon received all of this from Tessa, and Sharon's maternal instincts went into overdrive right away. Denial and turmoil within Sharon for Sharon Newman, hearing this account was nothing short of horrifying. As someone who has struggled with her own mental health battles over the years, Sharon understands trauma and impulsive behavior. But even she had trouble processing what Tessa said. Her first instinct was to defend Mariah, to rationalize her daughter's actions as a moment of panic, a breakdown, or some kind of misunderstanding. But the facts as Tessa presented them were difficult to ignore. One thing was clear from the witness accounts, the timeline, and Will Hensley's terrified reaction: Mariah committed a terrible act. Sharon's response was layered. She vacillated between disbelief, shame, and a desperate need to protect her daughter. As she processed Tessa's words, it became clear that Sharon feared not just for Mariah's freedom, but also for her safety. Sharon's heartbreak was compounded by Daniel's theory, which would soon give her a whole new reason to worry. The dangerous theory of Daniel Romalotti. Daniel Romalotti has always been known for his ability to read people, a quality that comes from years of experience dealing with difficult situations, both personal and professional. When he heard the details about Mariah's altercation with Will Hensley, he voiced what everyone else was too afraid to say aloud: what if Will comes back for revenge? At first, this seemed like an abstract fear, the kind of paranoia that arises in moments of guilt. But Daniel's reasoning was chillingly sound. Will is still alive. He was attacked, humiliated, and nearly choked to death. People don't just move on from something like that, especially not someone whose pride and safety were violated so deeply. A real threat exists in the event that he decides to pursue retribution or, even worse, justice. Daniel's comment wasn't just a throwaway line, it served as a foreshadowing device. The show seems to be setting up Will Hensley as a mysterious and potentially dangerous figure. Whether he will return to Genoa City in person or begin targeting Mariah and her loved ones from the shadows remains to be seen. Regardless of the outcome, Daniel's theory has transformed this narrative from emotional drama to psychological suspense. Will Hensley's mysterious identity. Who is Will Hensley, exactly? That is the burning question that Y&R fans are currently contemplating. The hotel staff's recollections painted him as an older man, charming and worldly, but possibly manipulative. His interest in Mariah could have been innocent at first, or it could have been something darker. Was he a business associate, a casual acquaintance, or someone with ulterior motives? If Will felt wronged either physically, emotionally, or professionally, his reaction could range from legal action to personal vendetta. Viewers have seen this pattern before in Genoa City, a character's impulsive mistake inviting a long-term adversary into their lives. The difference here is that Will has already been victimized. His rage, humiliation, and desire for control could turn him into a formidable enemy. Speculation among fans is rampant that Will might already be in Genoa City, quietly observing from the shadows. The writers could easily craft his reappearance as the spark that sets off a chain of dramatic events, from kidnapping attempts to blackmail to revenge-driven manipulation. The emotional fallout between Mariah and Tessa. Tessa's reaction to all of this is equally complex. Despite her deep love for Mariah, there is a sense of separation between them. Tessa's faith has been shaken by the news that her wife not only betrayed her emotionally but also committed a violent act. For a couple who have survived trauma, infertility struggles, and professional obstacles together, this revelation is one of the most damaging yet. During her conversation with Sharon, Tessa's tone was particularly icy. She did not attempt to soften the truth or excuse Mariah's actions. That bluntness suggests she's no longer operating purely from a place of love, she's thinking pragmatically, even protectively, especially when it comes to their daughter, Aria Porter-Copeland. The lingering question is whether Tessa will stand by Mariah as she faces the consequences of her actions, or if she'll begin to distance herself in fear of what Will's retaliation might bring. Her maternal instincts may drive her to prioritize Aria's safety over her marriage, setting up a heartbreaking divide between her and Mariah. The possibility of Will's retribution. Daniel's prediction that Will Hensley might come after Mariah or her family sets the stage for a deeply psychological revenge arc. Soap history is filled with scorned characters who returned with a vengeance, and Y&R is known for turning such storylines into unforgettable multi-episode thrillers. Imagine Will's return, a calm, collected man with scars both physical and emotional. He could approach Mariah's circle under a fictitious identity, win their trust and secretly plot vengeance. His focus might shift from punishing Mariah physically to emotionally dismantling her world, targeting the people she loves most. Naturally, Tessa and Aria would be at greatest risk. The dramatic formula of Y&R fits perfectly the idea of a man stalking their family or manipulating circumstances to separate Mariah from them. Daniel's theory might turn out to be prophetic, serving as the thread that connects multiple characters in a new web of deceit and danger. The internal struggle and shame of Mariah. While Mariah hasn't been on screen much since her departure for therapy, her absence itself speaks volumes. The writers are using her off-screen time to build suspense, to make viewers question whether she's truly healing or merely running away from the consequences of her actions. Mariah's past trauma, including her kidnapping and the emotional scars left by that ordeal, have shaped her into someone prone to impulsive and self-destructive behavior. It's possible that Will's attempted harm was not solely motivated by rage or drunken recklessness. Rather, it may have been a psychological echo of her unresolved pain and a subconscious act of projection. The show might show her perspective through confessional scenes or flashbacks as she goes through therapy, giving fans a clearer picture of what really happened that night. She might have been aroused by Will, she might have felt threatened, or she might have experienced something even more sinister and is too ashamed to admit it. Either way, her guilt and paranoia are bound to intensify once she learns that Will might be alive and seeking vengeance. The Newman and Abbott involvement. Given Sharon's connection to the Newman family and Daniel's to the Abbotts, it's only a matter of time before both dynasties become entangled in this crisis. Sharon might confide in Nick or Victoria about the threat, prompting them to take protective measures. Meanwhile, Daniel could enlist help from Phyllis or even Jack Abbott, depending on how severe the danger becomes. This storyline could serve as a crossover arc that unites multiple core characters under one umbrella of suspense. An exciting ensemble dynamic would result from the Newmans and Abbotts working together to safeguard Mariah, Tessa, and Arya. This would be analogous to the golden years of Y&R, when family rivalries and alliances frequently intertwined in extreme circumstances. The psychological depth of the storyline. What makes this storyline particularly compelling is its psychological realism. The Young and the Restless has always excelled at exploring the human condition, guilt, regret, revenge, and moral ambiguity. Mariah's situation mirrors a deep, real-world issue: how trauma can resurface in destructive ways and how victims can become perpetrators when unresolved emotions boil over. Although based on logic, Daniel's theory also reflects a larger theme: the cyclical nature of violence. One act of harm breeds another, and unless someone breaks that chain, tragedy will follow. Sharon's attempt to rationalize Mariah's actions represents a mother's unconditional love, while Tessa's fear for her family's safety embodies the moral conflict between empathy and self-preservation. Jack vs. Kane, Nikki's search, and Victor and Jill's reunion. The Young and the Restless spoilers for October 8, 2025 have been released. Fans can anticipate that Billy Flynn's Kane Ashby, played by Peter Bergman, will be persuaded to do the right thing in tomorrow's episode by Jack Abbott. Jill Abbott and Victor Newman learn shocking news. Plus, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, searches for answers. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Make sure to check out our weekly Y&R spoilers, here. Nikki Newman vs. Jill Abbott. Let's start off with Jill and Nikki, who faced each other after a long time. As they bonded over what Gene Cooper's Catherine Chancellor, would want, it appeared that things were going well at first. However, then the topic turned to Billy Abbott and Kane Ashby. That's when things got heated, and Jill doesn't think Kane's actions should worry her. Read more, find out what transpired in the most recent Y&R episode. The bombshell of Victor Newman. However, Victor will have some information to share with Jill when he comes in. She ends up being shocked by this news. So much so that Jill and Lily Winters, Crystal Cullill, confront Kane about those deceitful 6 years later in the week. Jill may still choose to side with Kane in the conflict. It sounds like the same dynamic Victor had with Victoria Newman and Adam Newman. Billy feels like he's the scapegoat, while Kane gets all of Jill's support. Jack Abbott's pressure. According to the spoilers for Wednesday, October 8 of The Young and the Restless, Jack will attempt to persuade Kane to do the right thing. While they were one close, that isn't the case anymore. At the same time, Jack could try to find common ground with the tycoon, maybe reminding him of what's truly important. Read this, The Young and the Restless spoilers. Kyle's devastating discovery: Claire's secret affair with Holden blows up in LA. Audra Charles' bitterness. Over with Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles, expect the pair to continue getting under each other's skins. While Kyle claims to his parents that he's ready to get to work and save Jabbo, I wonder if Audra will somehow intercept those plans, even unknowingly. There is also the Sally Spectra situation. Will Billy's situation harm her chances of starting her own business? Billy seems angrier than ever and blames his mother for pretty much everything. Read this, The Young and the Restless spoiler. Kane dangles Chancellor control to lure Jill back. Does it make sense for Sally to be with someone who would treat their own mother in such a disrespectful manner? Stay tuned, Billy could turn on Sally one day, Sally needs to keep that in mind. Versus Jill Abbott Nikki Newman, an uneasy reunion between titans. The first scene of the episode takes place in the boardroom of Chancellor Winters, where Jill Abbott and Nikki Newman meet for the first time in months. The air is heavy with tension and nostalgia. For a brief moment, it seems like peace might prevail as both women share a memory of the late Catherine Chancellor, Jean Cooper. They raise their glasses to what Catherine would have wanted, and for a brief moment, it feels like old friends who respect each other. However, peace in Genoa City never lasts long. The men in their lives, specifically Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, and Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, come up quickly in the conversation. Jill's demeanor immediately shifts when Nikki expresses concern regarding Kane's most recent business decisions. She bristles, defensive and dismissive, refusing to hear a single criticism of her former protégé. Jill insists, Kane knows what he's doing. He's been through enough, and has earned the right to make his own choices. Nikki, who has always advocated for prudent pragmatism, does not agree. She's seen men like Kane spiral before, men who talk a good game about redemption but can't resist crossing ethical lines when pushed. Nikki says softly, Jill, you've always believed in saving people, but sometimes the people you save end up dragging you down the most. The line hits Jill hard, not because Nikki is wrong, but because deep down, Jill knows she's right. Her maternal instincts toward Kane have blinded her to the truth. Their exchange becomes fiery, two matriarchs defending their versions of loyalty. The tension is reminiscent of a typical conflict in Genoa City, with two powerful women battling not for love or money but for control, pride, and the ghosts of their pasts. Victor Newman, a familiar face, arrives before the conflict gets any worse. He also brings with him a revelation that alters the entire course of the day. The bombshell of Victor Newman, a secret that shakes the legacy of the Chancellor. Both women immediately sense that something significant is about to be revealed when Victor enters the room. His expression is grave, deliberate, and full of the Newman-like gravity that always comes before chaos. Victor gets right to the point quickly. You deserve to know the truth about Kane and what he's been hiding from you, he says calmly but ominously to Jill. The room quiets down. Jill's confidence falters, while Nikki's gaze sharpens with suspicion. Victor goes on to say that his investigators found discrepancies in Kane's business dealings, including financial transactions that go back several years, are linked to offshore accounts, and he misappropriated funds while he was abroad. The bombshell lands like a thunderclap. Jill insists that there must be an explanation, and she refuses to believe it. Kane wouldn't do that to me, she says with trembling conviction. But Victor, never one to exaggerate facts, slides a folder across the table. The numbers don't lie, Jill. He's been covering his tracks for 6 years. As Victor speaks, flashes of history flood back, Kane's repeated second chances, his manipulative charm, his uncanny ability to win Jill's forgiveness every time he falters. Nikki is torn between anger and denial as she watches Jill fall apart. Nikki gently warns, don't let history repeat itself. You've protected him before, and look where it's gotten you. Jill, Lily Winters, Christine Cullill, and Kane will engage in a heated argument as a result of this revelation later in the week. But for now, the seed of doubt has been planted, and Victor's bombshell marks the start of a reckoning 6 years in the making. Jack Abbott's pressure, a crisis of conscience and redemption. Jack Abbott, on the other side of Genoa City, is going through his own moral crisis. Once close to Kane, Jack now stands at a moral crossroads. Jack has worked tirelessly to restore the company's integrity as head of Jabot, but Kane's actions and the secrets now coming to light threaten to destroy everything. Jack finds Kane in his office, the tension between them thick as fog. He doesn't raise his voice. Instead, he appeals to Kane's better instincts, something Jack still believes might exist beneath the arrogance. Jack says quietly, "You've got a chance here. You are destroyed if you come clean before this. Before it destroys everyone around you." But Kane, proud and defiant, pushes back. "You don't understand, Jack. I've been trying to stay alive. You had your safety net, your father's business, and the name of your family. I had to build everything from nothing." Jack doesn't flinch. "And now you're about to lose everything because you've forgotten what integrity looks like." The exchange is not just about business, it's a philosophical duel. Jack represents the old guard of Genoa City, men who've made mistakes but learned the value of accountability. Kane represents the next generation's moral grey zone, ambitious, desperate, and dangerously self-righteous. There is a startling resemblance to Jack's own relationship with Victor Newman as the scene progresses. Once upon a time, Jack too believed that winning justified every method. But time and pain has humbled him. Now he sees his former self reflected in Kane's descent, and that's what makes his plea so personal. Don't let greed define you, Kane, Jack warns. It's a cage you'll never escape. Kane's response right now is whether or not he will pay attention. Nicky Newman's search for answers, haunted by shadows. While corporate wars and betrayals rage, Nicky Newman embarks on a personal search for answers, an emotional subplot that ties into both Victor's revelation and her ongoing struggle with trust. Nicky has sensed for weeks that something deeper is brewing beneath Genoa City's calm surface. She knows that the truth about Kane and Jill's financial entanglement is just one piece of a larger puzzle, thanks to years of surviving the Newman family's storms. Her journey takes her back to old haunts, society, the Newman Ranch, even the Chancellor Mansion, where echoes of Catherine's voice still seem to linger. Nicky feels a spiritual pull, as though Catherine herself is urging her to uncover the full story. If Catherine were here, Nicky muses to Victor later in the episode, she'd never forgive us for letting greed and ego destroy what she built. This emotional through line gives the episode a haunting depth. Nicky isn't just searching for corporate truths, she's seeking moral clarity in a world that keeps losing it. One of the highlights of the episode is her conversation with Victor. Nicky, every time we think we've learned from the past, we go right back to repeating it. Victor, because Nicky, power never changes. It only changes hands. That exchange encapsulates the young and the restless at its finest, soap storytelling that transcends melodrama to reflect the cyclical nature of human weakness. Audra Charles' bitterness and Kyle Abbott's tug-of-war. Elsewhere, another battle unfolds, this one driven by pride, attraction, and sabotage. Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, and Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, continue their volatile dance of hostility and suppressed desire. Despite the fact that neither of them can stand the other after everything that has transpired between them, betrayals, corporate scheming, and emotional manipulation, they are still captivated by one another. Kyle claims to his parents that he's laser-focused on rescuing Jabot's public image. "I'm done with distractions," he declares. But Audra, with her razor-sharp intuition, sees right through him. Their scenes are electric, a mix of sarcasm and sexual tension that leaves viewers wondering whether they'll kill each other or kiss before the week is over. However, Audra's resentment goes much deeper than just her jealousy. She is fighting for the same recognition that Jack and Kyle were born into, despite the fact that she feels marginalized by the Abbotts and dismissed as a manipulative outsider. "You all talk about legacy like it's earned," she snaps at Kyle. "Some of us must fight just to be seen," says one. Audra and Kane share a poetic symmetry in that they are both ambitious and resentful of the dynastic privilege of Genoa City's elite. Yet while Kane hides behind charm and deception, Audra wears her bitterness like armor. As their story unfolds, Audra may unknowingly interfere with Kyle's strategy to stabilize Jabot, setting off a new round of corporate sabotage that could pit her against both Jack and Diane. Sally Spectra's dilemma: love, loyalty, and self-preservation. Courtney Hope's Sally Spectra, on the other hand, is at a crossroads of her own. She is still reeling from the recent romantic chaos and is caught between her dream of starting her own fashion company and Billy Abbott's fiery temper. Billy's anger, which is mostly directed at his mother, Jill, spills over into his interactions with Sally, making her wonder if she's switching from one toxic relationship to another. In one scene, she pleads, "Billy, you can't build a future by burning bridges." However, Billy's rage never lets up. "My mother's been running my life since the day I was born. Maybe it's time she learned I don't need saving." Sally sees the danger immediately. If Billy's feud with Jill deepens, it could jeopardize not only their relationship but also the funding she needs for her company. The episode cleverly juxtaposes her emotional conflict with Jack and Kane's moral confrontation, both storylines exploring what happens when pride overshadows principle. As Sally reflects on her situation, she recalls Adam Newman's, Mark Grossman, Warning, Billy's a storm, Sally. You can stand beside him for a while, but eventually, you'll get swept away. A turning point in her story might come when she comes to the conclusion that the men she finds attractive share a tendency toward self-destruction. Jill and Victor reconnect, old flames, new alliances. The most unexpected twist of the episode, however, is the renewed connection between Jill and Victor. After the initial confrontation over Kane's deception, their later conversation takes on a surprisingly personal tone. Victor softens, recalling their complicated history, business deals, flirtations, betrayals, and moments of unlikely understanding. Jill, exhausted and vulnerable, admits that she feels Catherine's legacy slipping away. Every time I think I'm honoring her, she says, I realize I'm just repeating her mistakes. Victor, in a rare moment of empathy, places a hand on her shoulder. Catherine believed in redemption, Jill. You just have to make sure you're saving the right person this time. Their shared moment hints at an alliance forming between them, perhaps even a renewed business partnership that could challenge both Newman Enterprises and Chancellor Winters from within. It's a subtle setup, but one that could pay off in the weeks ahead as Genoa City's power dynamics continue to shift.